We champion consumers in today's complex medical industry. Step one to smarter choices is listening to this radio forum. This is the Dr. Shoup Show. Now, here's your friendly Uncle Randy.
Well, it's good to have you here. It is always an honor for me that you decide to spend some time and we can have a chance to chat. I can share with you some of the new things that I have learned and am learning. And one of the things that we brought back from the Academy of Biomimetic Dentistry meeting in Los Angeles was the fact that, and I was pretty familiar with this anyway, we had never done this in the office for years and years and years, but there's good scientific data that backs it all up. Let me ask you if this sounds like a scenario that you've had. You go to the dentist, you have a toothache, you have a sore tooth, they're doing a filling, you've got a big cavity, and they ultimately say, well, you need to have a root canal done on your tooth. And so you all come to a consensus that, yes, that probably is the right thing to do. Yes, the tooth's been painful. Okay, great. So either the dentist there or they send you off to a root canal specialist, an endodontist, and they do the root canal. And then everybody, the restoring dentist or the root canal specialist, will look you in the eye and say, well, you need to have a post and core done on your tooth, and then you need to have a crown or a cap put on it. That is absolutely standard operating procedure, has been for years and years and years. And I'm here to tell you that if you hear those phrases, you obviously need to have a post and P-O-S-T, post and core, C-O-R-E, post and core, and then you have to have a crown put on this tooth because it has had a root canal. And there are chapters in textbooks that define this and tell everybody that this is right. And this was indeed the state-of-the-art way to go. But I'm telling you, as of today, you never, ever, ever have to have that ever, 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 ever again. And I don't want you to have a post and core and a crown ever again. And here's how it works. This is all old school thinking based on old school technology. In today's world, we are so skilled at being able to glue things to your tooth that you don't need to do it. Now, let me explain to you about what a post and core is. Here's the deal. Back in the olden days, when the only thing we had was some glue to glue onto the side of the tooth, that wasn't very strong, and things like crowns and inlays and onlays didn't stay stuck to the tooth very well. They would fall off. So we needed something stronger to glue to. So the dentist decided, after you've done a root canal, let's drill up inside the root and let's put a little steel post up in there, screw it in like a wood screw into a piece of pine, and then it'll let us hang on to the tooth. The problem with that is it significantly weakens your tooth. You hollow out the inside of the tooth. You ream out the inside of the tooth, and you're left with nothing but a very fragile shell of root, or a shell of the top of the tooth. So you've not only really hollowed out the tooth to do the root canal, now you're hollowing out the tooth even more to put this steel post in there. And then the steel posts are usually threaded, which means that they're screwed in there, which as they get screwed in, you know that wood expands. Have any of you ever been working on some woodwork or trying to screw something together and all of a sudden the wood splits because the screw goes in? The roots of teeth do exactly the same thing. So this is why one of the things that was a big downfall of post and cores. You're listening to the Dr. Randy Shoup Show. I am your host, Dr. Randy Shoup, and I'm walking you through the chain of reasoning. I'm walking you through the research and the history of why you should never, ever, ever have a post and core and crown on your tooth ever again, even though it's had a root canal. And here's why. Then the powers that be, the inventive people said, well, let's don't put these steel posts in there. I tell you what, we can make these things out of porcelain or out of Kevlar fibers or something like that, and we can still hollow out the inside of the root of the tooth, but just shove this stuff up in there instead. The problem is that stuff didn't glue very well to the inside of the tooth. So you would be chewing along, and I'm sure some of you have had this happen. You're chewing along, you've had a root canal, you've had the post and core, and you've got the crown on your tooth, and you're chewing along, and all of a sudden this whole crown comes out of your mouth, and it's got these two long spiky things sticking off the bottom of it. Well, that's because the whole inside of the tooth has fallen out because it doesn't stick to the tooth very well. Now you've got this tooth with this massive hollowed out hole in it that's pretty much worthless, and you go back to the dentist and he says, oh, I am so sorry. This tooth is shot. We've got to take it out and do something else. And you go, whoa, 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 bucko. I just spent $800 to $1,000 on the root canal, and I just spent another $500 on this post and core contraption you just made for me, and I spent about $1,000 on this crown, and that was like 9 months ago, and now I've got this stuff sitting in the palm of my hand, and you're telling me that it's all shot and it's no good? The way I add up math, that's like $2,500 worth of dentistry just shot to heck. And they go, well, yeah, we're sorry about that, but that's all we can do. Sounds like Bill Clinton. But anyway, that's the deal. So here's what you can do. Here's what I want you to pay attention to. And here's how you never have to go through that scenario ever, ever, ever again. You're listening to the Dr. Randy Shoup Show, and that is me. I am your host, Dr. Randy Shoup, and I want you to go to our website at ddsradio.com right after you hear the show, and I want you to ask me and any of my experts any question that you absolutely want to have answered. There's a place to link over. You can send me an email, ask me any question, contact me directly at ddsradio.com. Click over on the Ask the Expert button, and that'll tap you right into being able to submit your questions. You know, I take your questions and respond to them, but then I also use those questions here on the program. Helps me figure out what is interesting to you, what do you want to hear, how do you want the program to go. And so I want you to contribute to the show. I want you to be an active participant in it. It is your questions, your information, your curiosity that makes the show great. And I really, really appreciate it every day. So, okay. So here's what you do. You have had a root canal on your tooth. The powers that be have told you you need to have a post and core, and then you need to have a crown because this tooth has had a root canal. That is absolutely, positively false, wrong. Ask the dentist that is telling you this, do they still have an 8-track tape player? Ask them, do they still buy buggy whips on a regular basis? Ask them, if they still have polyester pants. Well, don't ask a dentist if they have polyester pants because they all do. And so that's not a very good criteria. You have to pick something a little more modern. But anyway, here's what you want to have done. There is a material on the market. It's been around for a long time, but we use a lot of it. And the stuff is called Ribbond, R-I-B-B-O-N-D, Ribbond. It's a ribbon of bondable material. Get it? Get it? Ribbon, bondable, Ribbond. Okay. They spent a lot of time at R&D figuring out the name for that one. But it's called Ribbond. You and I have talked about it before. It is Kevlar fibers woven into a particular pattern, and these are little strips. They look like little flat pieces of yarn, macrame, if you will. But these fibers are designed to reinforce a really beat up and decimated tooth. And that's what a root canal tooth is. It's a beat up and decimated tooth. And the dentist simply doesn't need to beat up or decimate your tooth anymore. And I do these things all the time. And here's the beauty of it. So you have a tooth with a hole in it that the endodontist or the dentist went into, did the root canal, and now there's this gaping cavern in the center of your tooth. You do not want anybody to go in there and drill that tooth out anymore. So we take these Kevlar fibers, there are little strips, and we kind of make them into you remember the old ice cream cake rolls? They were cake and ice cream, and they were rolled up, and you would slice them, and they would lay flat on your plate. Remember the ice cream cake roll? Well, we take these Kevlar fibers and make ice cream cake rolls out of these Kevlar fibers, but the cake part is the Kevlar fibers, and then the ice cream part is really strong tooth-colored restorative composite. And we place that down inside this hole in the center of your tooth, and it massively reinforces the inside of your tooth. So you don't need to drill it out and put a post. The stuff is called Ribbond, R-I-B-B-O-N-D. The research is out there from all over the place. There is a really phenomenal research dentist in Istanbul, Turkey, called Sima Belli, and Sima is a phenomenal world-class researcher, has done probably the heaviest amount of lifting in terms of research on Ribbond that there is. She was at the ABD meeting. I got to meet her and talk to her at the meeting. Brilliant woman, amazing scientist. But that's what you do. Then you don't have to grind the tooth down to a little nub. Even though the tooth is at a root canal, you simply then rebuild the tooth as you would doing the inlays and onlays that you and I have talked about before. So here's the end of the day. Here's the take home. Here's the takeaway for you from good old Uncle Randy, telling you the way it is. If you have had a root canal on your tooth, you do not have to have a post and core and then a crown on it. Tell your dentist about this program. Have them go to the website, listen to what I've told them, tell them about Ribbond, and tell them you do not want the root of your tooth drilled out. You do not want a steel or fiberglass post put up inside the root of your tooth, and you do not want it ground down to put a crown on. You want to use Ribbond and use adhesive dentistry to build the tooth back. Simple as that. Now you are smarter than probably 80% of the dentists on the planet. Congratulations.
You're listening to The Dr. Shoup Show. Exclusive insider info, audio, and video is online now at ddsradio.com.